In the movie 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, there is a scene where all the guys are in the team room and they're watching Tropic Thunder. And this begs the question, what if instead of watching Tropic Thunder, they were watching The Office? Gentlemen, welcome back to Bureau Files. On this episode of Bureau Files, we're playing with a theory, the 13 Hours Paradox.
Now what is this paradox?
You may ask. Good question. Thank you, viewer. You are quite inquisitive. Your curiosity will take you many places in life. So in theory, in the movie 13 Hours, it's a movie that takes place in our reality. It takes place in the year 2012, but it stars actors that have prior works of fiction and or other works out there in the world. And with a movie that takes place in reality, those actors in that world could come across their prior work. Does that make sense? I have an audience in here, you just can't see them, they're off camera. I tried to find a name for this paradox and I came across things such as metafictional paradox or a recursive reality paradox. But I like to call it the 13 Hours Paradox because it's where I first noticed it. Also, recursive reality and metafictional didn't really seem to fit what I was going for in this instance. To reiterate, the 13 Hours Paradox rules are as follows. A movie based on our reality where an actor could come across their own work. To keep things simple, of course, and realistic to the timelines, the dates have to match up with the dates portrayed in the movie, not when the movie came out, to their prior work that would predate the events in the movie. This makes sense when I'm like saying this, right?
No.
So of course, for 13 Hours took place September 11, 2012. All of the actors' work in that movie would have to predate the events of September 11, 2012. Are you staying with me, son? Are you tracking, kid? I hope I explained the rules of this clear enough. If I lost you anywhere along the way, I'm sorry, and you may be a simpleton. But don't worry, you're in good company, for I too am an idiot. I thought about making it even more confusing, say if a character survived the real world events like John Krasinski's character in 13 Hours, that he could go on to keep seeing John Krasinski's work, so then John Krasinski would see, holy shit, this is confusing. I could make this more confusing in the sense that the people that survive these events, their characters that portray them, would go on to see a movie starring the characters that portray them. For instance, John Krasinski's Jack Silva would go on to watch a movie directed by Michael Bay starring John Krasinski. But then again, even trying to get the line out for that part hurts my head, so I'm gonna keep it simple for us. Paradoxes in general confound me. They're hard to keep track of because it's paradoxical. It both is and it isn't.
It's paradoxical, and yet it works.
That being said, someone trying to make a YouTube video about a subject that they don't quite understand themselves is peak YouTube, and I myself am all here for it. This 13 Hours Paradox that I have coined got me wondering, are there any other styles of movies where this could potentially happen? It sent me down a rabbit hole, and from there I learned there are plenty of examples that we can go over. I then decided to narrow it down to movies that take place during the Gwatt. Do you know what Gwatt stands for, boys and girls? The Global War on Terror. Do you know what the Global War on Terror is? I'll give you a quick synopsis. 9/11. Synopsis. Over. Also, keeping it to this theme kind of fits with Bureau Files because it feels like most of the videos have some sort of violent conflict involved because, if we're being honest with ourselves, violence, technically, when it comes to history and movies, is sometimes one of the most interesting, at least to dudes. And based off my channel demographics, most of you are the bros. No girls allowed, except for my mom. Hi, Mom. Also, I don't plan to elaborate on every piece of media that the actor may have been in, just the ones that I find interesting. It's my channel, my rules, so I can do what I want. Of course, we will start with 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. 13 Hours. The real life events of 13 Hours are somewhat interesting, filled with some controversy though. Oftentimes people point fingers at Hillary Clinton for a poor job of helping out those in need, those being attacked at the CIA compound in Benghazi, Libya. I do remember at the time there was fingers being pointed at some random dude on the internet that made like a YouTube video, and they were like saying that that was the reason they attacked a CIA compound in Benghazi, Libya. I thought they like arrested that dude and like took him to jail or prison or whatever. This was a while ago. This was before I was into like politics. I was still a child. Well, not a child. I mean, I was in high school. I was an NPC. I was a young NPC kid. I wasn't active.
This video doesn't reflect your average American's view of Islam.
Wrong.
13 Hours being the work of Michael Bay, going over the events of September 11, 2012. John Krasinski. In 2012, The Office was coming to its conclusion. So that means in this universe where you have this movie based on reality of events that really took place, you have John Krasinski playing Jack Silva. So in theory, he could have come across his prior work, of course, to the events of 2012. It would have been really funny, and I would have loved to see this in the movie if they were, instead of watching Tropic Thunder, there was a scene from The Office, but it didn't have the characters from The Office that were in 13 Hours. For whatever reason, this gets my goat, and I actually really like it. Like, I think it's really funny, and this is the entire reason I'm making a video. I also learned in my research that John Krasinski was also in the movie Jarhead, which came out in 2005. He has a really quick cameo when Jake Gyllenhaal goes up to him and he's trying to buy booze. John Krasinski's like a clerk for an officer, and he's like writing love letters to his officer's mistress or wife, whatever like that, but the more you know. Pablo Schreiber. Thankfully the Halo show wasn't out yet. He didn't have to see the disappointment that he was going to become. This one's exciting. James Badge Dale. Dude's had a pretty solid career, but I think as far as what these high-speed operators would have come across, for sure, The Pacific. James Badge Dale plays Bob Leckie from The Pacific, which came out in 2010. Absolutely. All of those dudes would have watched The Pacific and been like, holy crap, dude. Roan looks just like James Badge Dale. He was also in The Departed, which is kind of interesting. I think he was like another rat. David Denman. For this scenario, The Office is obviously another standout where he plays Roy. He is, of course, at the start of the show, Pam's fiance, but they eventually break up and Pam gets with Jim. This, of course, spawned a plethora of memes where it was like, Roy, Pam's in trouble, we gotta save her. The memes are dated for sure by now. They're almost like boomer humor to us. But to be fair, the brain rot has permeated greatly within our society. At the time, they were pretty funny. If they would have played The Office in 13 Hours, it could have been a double whammy of a great meta reference. But bros, we were robbed. I was looking at David Denman's career, and nothing else really stands out too much in the zeitgeist of his work, or I think that would have worked with the timeline of the Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. He is in True Detective Season 2 for an episode, but I don't remember if that would have worked with September 11th, 2012 timeline. This one I'm excited for. Max Martini, the big standout one that all of these guys for sure would have seen and recognized him from, Saving Private Ryan. I believe he's a Corporal Henderson. He was also in The Great Raid. He also has a pretty good career of being in movies that involve violence, but of course, Saving Private Ryan, they would have been like, wait a second, this guy looks familiar. Toby Stephens is in 13 Hours, and one role stands out to me the most. He's in the show Sharps. 2006, the India campaign. He plays William Dodd. Now, if you know anything about me, and hopefully not a lot, I'm a massive fan of the show Sharps. I've been reading all the books, and though the timeline doesn't check out within the shows, it's still pretty good. I mean, I still love it. And I had to throw this one in there because it was a gimme. Man, I really am a Sharp simp. God. He's also in James Bond, Die Another Day. Now, I do love 13 Hours. One of my favorite things is the operator culture that it portrayed. There was a while after 13 Hours came out where every dude was calling each other brother. Brother, hey brother, you good? Yeah, you better fix your stuff, brother. And know what those brothers had going on? Great facial hair. Sick operator beards. Do you want to have a sick beard? Well, this video's sponsor wants to help you groom that sick beard, if you have one. The sponsor, of course, being Manscaped, the global lifestyle brand that is revolutionizing men's grooming. Manscaped has mastered the art of producing superior men's grooming and hygiene tools for your family jewels. They have the confidence of over 12 million men worldwide. If you do the math, that's 22 million pairs of family jewels taken care of. Manscaped's latest grooming package and hygiene bundle will absolutely get the job done. Featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Electric Trimmer. I actually use the Manscaped 5.0 lawnmower and I'm happy with it. The bundle also comes with the Weed Whacker 2.0. It also comes with the Crop Soother and Crop Preserver. Goods for your goods, brother. It doesn't stop there. When you purchase the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, you'll also get 2 free gifts. The Boxers 2.0 and the Shed 2.0, your grooming command center. Head over to manscaped.com and get your hands on the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. When you use my promo code, Bureau, you'll get 20% off, plus international shipping, plus 2 free gifts. Big thank you to Manscaped. Next up, Lone Survivor. Context on Lone Survivor. It's about a SEAL team that's going to do some reconnaissance and surveillance, but then they get compromised by some local goat herders and things go south pretty quick. Out of the 4-man reconnaissance team, 3 were killed, with the one survivor, the lone survivor, being Marcus Luttrell. Things also got worse, but I'm giving you a really quick speed run of it. If you want to go check it out yourself, I'd encourage you to. Now, controversy aside, and I don't want to get into that, that's a whole different topic, we have Lone Survivor, which takes place in the year 2005 in real life. The movie stars Mark Wahlberg. Marky Mark. Get those good vibrations, get your sweet sensations. Come on, feel it. Bum, 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 bum. You guys hear that song? Get your good vibrations. Okay. Now, in the movie, Mark Wahlberg portrays Marcus Luttrell.
Well, I don't know what part of the film you were watching, but hopelessness never really came into it. I mean, where did you see that?
Roles prior to 2005 would be the movie Three Kings, 1999.
Are we shooting?
He played Sergeant First Class Troy Barlow. 2001, Mark Wahlberg takes on the Monkees, Planet of the Apes. Played Captain Leo Davidson. The Italian Job. 2003, played Charlie Crocker. I feel like all those Navy SEALs would have seen those movies for sure and been like, dude, Marcus looks just like that dude from Planet of the Apes. Looks just like him. Marcus, you look just like Mark Wahlberg from Planet of the Apes. It's a game-breaking theory, this 13 Hours paradox. The Mark Wahlberg Monkey Man would be ruining the brains of the Navy SEALs in Afghanistan. Taylor Kitsch, funny enough, of course, in this movie, but his acting career didn't really get going until 2006 with Friday Night Lights. Emil Hirsch is in Lone Survivor, and the only thing that I can remember him from is The Girl Next Door. 2004. So potentially those SEALs could have seen Emil Hirsch in 2004, Girl Next Door. I mean, I saw the movie. Ben Foster. He was in The Punisher, 2004. I actually liked that Punisher a lot, dude. I thought that was a fun one. I thought it was like a good, John Travolta's the bad guy. This is where things spice up, boys. Eric Bana. Eric Bana plays another Eric Christensen. Roles prior to 2005. You boys ever hear of Black Hawk Down, 2001? Eric Bana plays Hoot. Absolutely. Those Navy SEALs saw Black Hawk Down. They'd been like, dude, Christensen looks just like Hoot. Holy shit, Christensen. This guy looks just like you. The Hulk, 2003. This is a fun one. Troy, 2004. He plays Hector, Prince of Troy. Get up, Prince of Troy. I won't have a rock steal my glory. I will say on the topic of Troy, there's a scene where the Trojans are outside of their city and they battle the Greeks. And it's like, why are you guys outside of your city walls fighting the Greeks like this? Doesn't make any sense. If you have these massive city walls, why go outside of them? Why do that? I don't know. If I was a Trojan, I'd be like, dude, what the hell are we not doing inside of the city? That's not how sieges go. I mean, you could sally from a siege, you would make counterattacks and maybe try and disrupt their siege engines, but an all-out pitched battle. Did the Greeks just watch the Trojans come out of the gate and eventually line up and all right, sick, let's go fight them? That's probably what happened. I'm sorry, you may have a tangent as a snack. Zero Dark 30. Osama bin Laden was killed on May 2nd, 2011 in Abbottabad, Pakistan. Now this one is tricky, fellas, this is tricky. Because with the nature of CIA spooks and narratives, I don't know how much of it is legit or how many composite characters there are. That being said, we can still take a crack at it 13 Hours Paradox style. Mainly the whole reason I'm doing this is because Chris Pratt's in this movie. Chris Pratt, Parks and Recreation. A show that started in 2009. This is where Chris Pratt gained fame as Andy Dwyer, a goofy, lovable idiot. A fella that loves Dave Matthews and sings in the band Mouse Rat, or Rat Mouse, one of the others. Initially meant to be a minor character who'd become a series regular. I'm rewatching the show right now, funny enough, and I thoroughly enjoy Andy's character. Mark Strong's in 13 Hours, and I like Mark Strong a lot as an actor. He was in the movie Body of Lies, which came out in 2008. He portrayed Johnny Salam, head of Jordanian intelligence. He was also in Sherlock Holmes, which came out in 2009. And of course, he played Godfrey in Robin Hood, which came out in 2010. Plenty of time for him to be recognizable for the character of who he is, based off his prior work while in Zero Dark 30. Jason Clarke, Dan.
Where was the last time you saw Bin Laden?
Public Enemies, 2009.
Oh yeah, we use the real Tommy guns.
Did you? Don't those weigh 50 pounds or something?
Yeah.
Featured as Red Hamilton, a member of John Dillinger's gang. He was also in Terminator Salvation, which The Outpost. The Outpost is based off the Battle of Kamdesh, which took place October 3rd, 2009. One of the deadliest engagements of US forces in the war in Afghanistan. It took place at Combat Outpost Keating, or Top Keating, a remote US Army outpost in Nuristan Province, Afghanistan, near the Pakistani border. October 3rd, 2009, around 400 Taliban fighters launched a coordinated attack on Top Keating. 53 US Army soldiers, 20 Afghani Army National soldiers, and 2 Latvians defended Top Keating. Dude, the idea of the 2 Latvian dudes being there, being like, what the fuck? Dude, what the fuck? We should have stayed in Latvia, what the fuck? Dang, dude, this is intense. Despite overwhelming odds, the US forces managed to repel the attack, but at the cost of 8 Americans killed, 27 wounded, and making for one of the deadliest battles of the war. Over 150 Taliban fighters were killed in the engagement. Now, Top Keating is named after Captain Keating, who died November 26, 2006. And in the movie, his character is portrayed by Orlando Bloom. Given the timeline of events to 2006 and contrasting it to the rest of the cast, Orlando Bloom absolutely has the most interesting acting career where we can pull from and use for the 13 Hours Paradox. Have you ever heard of Lord of the Rings? Legolas? Absolutely, these dudes would recognize Captain Keating as Legolas. Are you kidding me, dude? He was also in Pirates of the Caribbean. Troy. Troy's on here twice, dude. What the heck? He was Paris in Troy. He had to steal away Helen of Sparta. Paris of Troy just got that mad riz, dude. He was aura farming the Spartans. I mean, Helen must have been a baddie to start a war over, but you never know. Black Hawk Down, 2001. Eric Bana again, dude. Orlando Bloom, Eric Bana, on here twice. Crazy. That's nuts. They're probably homies. Or they hate each other, one or the other. And The Kingdom of Heaven, another banger. This is actually a pretty good one, considering how much I love all those movies. Like, this is pretty fun to think about. Like, you have this guy portraying in a realistic movie. In theory, they have a massive list of movies that they could have recognized their captain in. That's 13 Hours Paradox for you. Why does our set kind of feel like the Sean Ryan show? So, what's your EDC? Have you ever tried Vigilance Elite gummies? Hurt Locker, the Hurt Locker. Now this one gets tricky, as the Hurt Locker isn't necessarily known for its historical portrayal of events, but more so a general vibe of like what was going on at the time in the global war on terror. And the movie takes place around 2004. The main reason I wanted to bring this one up is that Jeremy Renner's character could have seen the movie SWAT, where he plays like a SWAT guy in it. So absolutely, I wanted to bring this one up because I think it's funny. Despite the fact that it's technically not a portrayal of one specific event trying to be as historically accurate as possible, but more so a general broad like EOD team in Iraq in this time. Now there are also some other actors that make an appearance that I find interesting. Actors such as Ralph Fiennes. Ralph Fiennes was a contractor in the movie, and when the guys saw him and eventually talked to him, they could have been like, dang dude, this looks just like the camp counselor from Schindler's List. All right, fellas, is it gay to like Made in Manhattan? Because Ralph Fiennes is also in Made in Manhattan, which came out in 2002, starring J-Lo. I kind of like that movie. My wife made me watch it. It wasn't that bad. Fellas.
Ray, the battalion commander, offered no sit rep as to J-Lo's status.
David Morse is also in the movie as Colonel Reed. Could have recognized him from The Green Mile or The Rock. I think that's a fun one. Now, obviously, I would say this theory, of course, is just more so fun. And if you're a film nerd like me and you enjoy movies, but you don't like to kino out too hard, I think this is a decent one to play with. One of those things where you have movies based on reality, with actors in them, and a fun thing where those actors could, of course, come across their own real-world work. It's kind of meta, it's kind of game breaking. Is it kind of fourth wall breaking? I don't know. I feel like fourth wall is more like, we have to stop the bomb. Or do we? I feel like that's more like Deadpool is more fourth wall breaking. Am I crazy? A little bit. Also, if there's a better name for this paradox and I just don't know it, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. But for now, I'm calling it the 13 Hours Paradox because yet again, it's where I first noticed it. Gentlemen, thank you for tuning into Bureau Files. I appreciate you greatly. As always, got nothing else for you. See you later.